welcome to Paul's Little Room. This is a relatively quick review of these in-ear monitors, IEMs. These are the BirdDance Z3, also known as the Zoo Audio. Now, BirdDance is a international brand of the larger brand Zilinius, also known as Zoo Audio, which is a Chinese brand, and these were purchased for £30 UK from AliExpress. Now, I'm just going to read a little bit of the back of the box. Zoo Audio Z3, 10mm dual magnetic dual cavity dynamic coil unit plus a 6mm composite diaphragm dynamic coil unit. The diaphragms specifically made bamboo fiber silk foam hanging edge diaphragm, PU plus peak composite diaphragm, magnetic circuit, N52 dual magnetic circuit neodymium magnets, wire 106 core double stranded high purity oxygen free copper plated silver wire. Impedance 32 ohms. Now, this is an interesting thing. The impedance isn't important because these they come with their own included DAC in the USB-C part of the cable. So these are ridiculously easy to drive. I would say these these are sort of impedance when it comes to how easy these are to drive. I mean, these are ridiculously easy to drive. Sensitivity 125 decibels per VRMS at 1000 Hertz. Harmonic distortion 1% at 1000 Hertz. Frequency response range 10 Hertz to 50 kilohertz. Effective frequency response range 20 Hertz to 20 Hertz. So let's get into this box. Now, it is a nice feeling box, recyclable or card, but it's nice. I like the shiny lettering on this. The writing on the back is a little bit difficult to read, but it's got all the details on the back here that you would ever want. So let's open this box now. I'm wearing my white gloves today because I've got dry hands because it's very, very warm weather. So I'm going to try and open this up with my gloves. So wish me luck. No, I think I'll be all right here. So now you get a little booklet, very I would say quite comprehensive. You've got all the details you'd want about how to install the cable the right way, and the description of the various tips. Now I'll just read this description and then I'll show you the actual tips in a bit. 3 pairs of transparent plugs in total enhance mid to high frequency, transparent and natural. 3 pairs of balanced plugs in total enhance low frequency and improve hearing endurance. 3 pairs of bamboo rim stoppers in total ripple transmission structure, rich musical detail. The amount of information has significantly increased and the sound field is open. Now these also come with 2 foam tips which are not mentioned here, and really there's not much you need to go on about here. Still, it's nice to have. So in the box you can see quite a nice presentation. It's all just cardboard and foam. Now these are apparently a metal construction. You see, I'm not that keen on this transfer on here. For me it's a little bit chintzy, but that's just my personal view. They do look smart. Okay, so let's take this accessories box out of here. And now before I show you the accessories, I'll just show you these are pre-connected on a 2-pin cable connectors. I quite like the cable, I've got to admit, and I would say the one reason I'm quite pleased with this product is I'll show you straight away. This cable, it's a very nice feeling. It's soft. It's not that prone to tangling at all. It's got, you can see it's just a twist here, rubber coated cable, very soft, with a little remote here for starting and stopping tracks. Now this is the interesting point. You actually have a little DAC chip on the end here. Now just to note, USB-C standard is wildly varied. Now all USB devices have a little chip in there, but it completely varies with the performance. Now this is a 24-bit 96 kilohertz little DAC chip here. Now I'll just show you the headphones here and then I'll show the accessories. This is the same standard 2-pin connection that you get on some very cheap, very affordable IEMs. It's not bad. It's not bad. What I'd say, it's just slightly bulky, and it is very prone to breaking if you're not careful. Now I'm going to be also reviewing over the next week these, which are the Blon Mini IEMs, but these also include the same connections, so it's good if you have detachable cables of this type. Then they are you can swap them over, which is very handy. So let's talk about the accessories. So in this cardboard box you get a very nice carry case, very nice indeed, with a bit of branding on here. It's cloth, and in here you get all of your tips. Now this is easily large enough to hold the headphones. It does not take me long. I'll just show you me getting the headphones into there. So I'm just going to very quickly do this. I'll just show you. This is a very soft cable, and it doesn't take me long at all to get this in here, and there's plenty of room for your headphones. There you go. Much easier to get in than the Meze Audio Alba headphones with their very small case. They take longer to try and get in. Also, their cable is more prone to tangling. So, pleased so far. I'll just put that there. Now, tips wise. Now, it is generous with the number of accessories. Look at all these. Now, these are the high clarity tips, well, that's what they call them. I noticed that these do come across as a little bit shrill. Interestingly, they do actually increase a little bit of the mid bass and sharpness of the lower treble as well. These are not a highly detailed headphone at all, and I will get into that. But anyway, so these ones, if you're in a rush, so if you're traveling and you need the tips which are the detailed ones, then try these. Otherwise, I did try these with some aftermarket buds as well. These are the Pentacon Courier Mini stainless steels, and these sound similar, but these have a metal core and these have more control in the vocals, and also they do not increase the sub bass, but I noticed the sub bass was just very slightly less woolly, a little bit more control. But these are relatively expensive. These cost as much as these headphones, so that's worth bearing in mind. Now, also in the box, you get this little, they all come in these standard wrappers. Now these, if you're in a rush, you won't be choosing these unless you're at home, or if you're on a very long commute. And noise isolation, okay, these are foam tips, very similar to the standard foam tips which come with other budget IEMs I've tried, such as the White Tigers. Now I must say these are by far my favoured tips for these headphones. Usually I'm not that keen on foam tips. I find them a little bit uncomfortable. They expand inside your ear. Good for noise isolation, very good for noise isolation, these ones. But this is a very deep fitting IEM. So bear in mind, these do go quite deep into your ear and you might find discomfort with these. But sound-wise, these are by far the best with the lower bass tones. These headphones do come across thin. With all of the other tips which are provided, these ones here, they have a good amount of bass control, but they don't. I think these are the balanced ones. These don't increase the bass notes at all. It's a very even spread tonally. I would say that with these tips, the bass tones, the treble tones, and the vocals are all kind of relatively even. Nothing's shouting out above the rest. These are your standard latex, very standard, but these for me came across as a little bit woolly. I wouldn't use these tips if you're wanting detail at all. These ones, they are the quickest to get in your ear because they're very, very soft, although they are quite hard to get onto the headphone because they're so soft as well, and because of the width of the tip. But yeah, so I'm not bothering with these after trying these out once. By far my favorite tips sounding wise are these, if you're not in a rush, and then if you're in a rush, these. Okay, so that's it for the accessories. These do not have interchangeable tips. There are other headphones in, I would say, not in this price range, but close to this price range with interchangeable tips. So if I show you this is the box for the White Tigers. You'll notice the White Tigers have a comprehensive accessories range. They have interchangeable tips, tunable, full metal construction. These are not as comfortable to wear. They're not as ergonomically comfortable as the Z3s. The Z3s, I would say, they are heavy. They're actually, I think the Z3s are slightly heavier than the White Tigers. Full metal construction. However, these are very ergonomic. I like the way these fit in my ears. Well done to BirdDance for the ergonomics. Very nice. Just the length of these tips, they do go quite deep into the ear, so that's the only problem I found. But yes, if you want fantastic accessories, if you're willing to go a little bit more up in your budget, the White Tigers do have the interchangeable and tunable connections. Not only that, but these are much better sounding headphone. I'll get into that in a bit, but these are £50, so these are a good £20 more, almost twice the price. So there you go. These come in the box pre-connected. Please be careful if you have any budget IEMs with this cable. If you're not careful and you disconnect these often, these pins can fall out. And in fact, when I was sent the Bolon BL Mini, I immediately pulled out the end of the cable with these, and Linsol were fantastic. They sent me a replacement cable, so thank you to Linsol. Yes, just be careful with these. I'll just install these once because the box, the travel box is roomy. There's no need to detach these. Once these are attached, you can just leave them attached, unless you want to use this cable to power up some other IEMs, because I'm going to say this is a fantastic cable in you can power your other IEMs. This does have its inbuilt DAC chip and microphone, so I would say the purchase price of these headphones is worth it for the cable alone. Anyway, back to these headphones. Yes, so metal construction of the headphone itself. Very nice. You can see this is very ergonomic, very deep tips indeed, quite wide as well. I'd say these are wide rather than medium width. But certainly I like the ergonomics of these, but they are a little bit deep, so that's worth pointing out. Now, I quite like the branding on here. It says Zoo Audio, engraved. This is in the hand. These feel nice quality. They don't feel plasticky. They are metal. Very nice indeed. You can see the tuning ports underneath. I'm not sure what there's a tiny little pinhole here. I think that might be for some of the treble tones, but usually larger holes are for bass tones. Now, interestingly, they've got a little hole on the side as well. Now, the reason for that is because these have a dual driver setup. So the driver at the top, which is the larger driver, the 10mm driver, will be getting air from this little slot on the side, and then the driver which is underneath, the 6mm one, I think it's 6mm one which is underneath, maybe I've got it the wrong way around, but the other driver underneath will have air from here. So one thing which is definitely certain is these do lean on the mid-treble generous side. Now, I've not tried blocking up any of these holes. That might be a little experiment I might try. It's interesting. Sometimes I wouldn't block up the holes completely, but if you make these holes a little bit smaller, maybe with some white tack, I'd be very careful, you might be able to control the tone of this headphone. So that's going to be interesting. Anyway, on here you've got a little transfer. I'm not that keen on this transfer. It's got like a little symbol. This is the company symbol on there. It looks a little bit like a treble clef with an arrow pointing at it. A bit strange. With this almost like paisley pattern there. I would have, I think this would have been looked better if there was a little bit of maybe a bit of acrylic on top of here. With that transfer underneath, it would look a little bit better quality. It looks a little bit cheap compared to the actual build of the rest of the headphone, but still, I mean, I'm not complaining. £30, very nice construction indeed. And then you can see there's actually a stainless steel nib here. So on to the sound now. These are the first product under the BirdDance brand, so I would imagine maybe in a second iteration of these headphones they might, with some feedback, maybe change the tuning a little bit. But in my opinion, I think it is possibly because of the close proximity of the drivers to one another. The actual staging of these headphones is in a very small bubble. There's very little sub bass at all. What little sub bass there is quite nicely controlled if you use these tips here. But it's very, very light. I would not say these are harsh sounding headphone at all, though some of the textures in the mids can be a little bit grainy. Not across the board though, just some tones can sound a bit grainy. These are not a detail monster headphone. I would say that if there's a well-recorded piece of music, singer-songwriter music comes across nicely, vocals come across nicely. I would say that if you're looking at the frequency response shape that these make, it's actually a gentle U shape. So the mids are dipped, the vocals are dipped with a little bit of an emphasis, just a little bit on the mid bass and a little bit of emphasis on the mid treble, and the upper treble and lower bass are kind of they're not much there, they're very sawn off. So these are relatively easy listen. I would say they're not a harsh listen. Um, if you listen to very complicated tracks, then these do suffer, unfortunately. Now the thing is, it's usually to do with the how close the instruments are together. Now I listened to some tracks with well separated instrumentals and vocals. So, for instance, one album I'm listening to at the moment, and I've included in my review of the Hi-Fi Man HE1000 Stealths, is Catavan by Katie Malawa. Now the last track on that album, it's an orchestral number, and it builds up, and where you have a good quality bass tone which is separate from the a bit of distance between those bass tones and the vocals, these come across very nicely indeed. I'd say the if you have a warm track which is framing those vocals well, with a bit of separation in the actual recording, these do it very well, but these do highlight any congestion in the music. It's a little bit of a quick change, so it's a small soundstage anyway, so these are in your head, but when you have tracks which are not well recorded, then you are going to have an emphasis on harshness, and you are going to have an emphasis on the small congested nature of that track. But as I said, that track on Catavan comes across very nicely with these. Also, the other Katie Mellower music, which is more jazzy, comes across quite nicely with these. These do very nicely with those. I'd say the strength of these headphones is definitely with those mid bass tones, and the mid vocal tones as well. So rich vocal tones are going to come across nicely with these. Um, just avoid harsh. Thumpy music comes across absolutely fine. I would say fast and hard drum strikes come across actually relatively nicely with these. You're not having a brittle, harsh sound coming into your ear because of the kind of rounded texture of those treble notes. Speed-wise, these are meddling. I would say these aren't the slowest dynamic IEMs I've heard, but these are definitely not describable as fast. I'd say these lean towards the relaxing. If you have relatively slow-paced music, but with good, strong drum there and plucky strings or plucky guitar, these do present it quite well. Now, thinking about harsh music again, I like to exemplify Portishead as a kind of their music is quite harsh to listen to. These, I would say, actually, it makes it quite manageable. These are not highly emphasized in the treble. Texture-wise, these can get a little bit gravelly. A little bit. They're not refined in the treble notes, but what you are hearing is it's not overly harsh, it's not overly forward, so it's a little bit forward on those midtones because they're not framed by very forward upper treble. It's very manageable with these. Okay, so listening to these on the go, you're not going to be suddenly startled by harshness. But one thing which you will be startled by is you have to be very careful with the volume you're playing your tracks, because if you're listening to YouTube on the go, you have to be very careful. These are, because of this inbuilt DAC chip, which I think is very good, all of a sudden you can find the volume ramping up very high. So I would, if you're playing a track, pause the track, turn the volume down, and then just gradually increase the volume until it's a level which you're happy with. Now, if you plug these into your laptop, so I've tried these plugged into my MacBook Pro, M5 new machine. It's a very nice machine. That actually has quite a competent DAC internally anyway, but when you plug these in, you'll get a very, very, very easy to drive system indeed. Be very careful not to hurt your ears. I would actually, in fact, start playing your music tracks with these not in your ears, and then just put them on when you're happy with the volume not being too high. And then on my HP laptop as well, I would say the HP, my HP, what's it called? Thinbook, I think, something like that. Anyway, the internal DAC isn't as good. It will benefit from things like this, but just be very careful. These are definitely designed to preferably be used with a mobile phone, but because these do have that inbuilt DAC, just be careful with the volume. So yes, now before I finish this review, I'm just trying to think if there's any other points I'd make. First of all, just value wise, yes, I do recommend these headphones. Cable alone is worth the purchase price. Build quality is very good. Not detail monsters. These can be a bit grainy. They lack definition in places. They have a small sound stage, but they don't lack their merits. They've got some pleasant aspects to the sound. I'd say if you have music which is well recorded and you have music which has pleasant mid I would say mid tones and mid bass tonality, then yes, these are well worth giving a try. Very little asking price, 30 UK pounds. Give them a try. Now, I would say, just before I conclude, I'm going to be doing a comparison with the Blonde BL Minis. Just off the bat, I prefer the sound of the Blonde BL Minis. The soundstage is just as small, but because these have a single dynamic driver, they're just a little bit more controlled. Also, tonally, those mids, for me, I just prefer the mids, but by no means are the BirdDance Z3s inferior across the board to the Blonde BL Minis, but when it comes to value, the Blonde BL Minis, they are better value. They're cheaper headphone. So I will talk about those and compare those soon. So yeah, let me know if any of you have tried these headphones. I don't know if many of you will have, because these have only been out for a very short while. Z Audio, I think they're very good company communication wise. They've been very friendly, reaching out to me, and they've answered all my questions. And when I said this is going to be longer than 15 minutes, originally they stated they'd like it to be under 15 minutes, and to state the value for compared to other headphones of even £100 UK pounds. No, these aren't going to be able to replace your headphones which are 100 UK pounds. Still, I'm not displeased with these as a product, and yeah, give them a try if you can. So that's all for today. Goodbye.